like to welcome the first welcome remarks from the Director of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, Sascha Vogt. You're welcome.
Professor Dorgerloh, Professor Scheunpflug, Professor Lehtomäki, Mr. Wegimont, ladies and gentlemen, it is a special honor for me to welcome you to the opening of the Angel Conference. Welcome to Berlin, and thank you everyone for being here. Research in global education and learning for democracy, peace, human rights, sustainability, and global social justice is the title of this conference, and these topics, which are the focus of this conference, are also key topics for our times. They are guidelines for education on development policy issues. Let me start with the topic of democracy and peace. Surveys among young people in Germany have shown that their greatest worry right now is that there could be a war again in Europe or in the Middle East. Awareness of the conflicts is there. What needs to be developed is an understanding for how everything is tied together, and also, most importantly now, an awareness of what action each individual can take personally. One of the worst things about being scared is the feeling of being helpless. The feeling that everything around you is bad and threatening and there is nothing you can do about it. The feeling that you are a passive victim of the circumstances prevailing in the world. And that is exactly where education on development policy issues comes into effect. We build awareness for how international issues are connected. And we convey an encouraging message that through our daily actions, we can change things for the better. After participating in our programs, people are more open in their outlook and more tolerant. And they start to act. Instead of shutting themselves off and putting up barriers, they discover what they have in common with others and become active advocates for international cooperation. One of the ways that we achieve this is through exchange programs for school children or for university students, or through our well-established volunteer services all over the world. We also use education projects here in Germany to teach this message and open people's eyes. This work plays a part in developing empathy and a heightened awareness for global social justice. But if we were to stop there, that would be too little. Understanding alone is not enough. The next step is crucial. Taking action oneself. This is about experiencing a feeling of agency and a growing sense of confidence that is possible as an individual to make a difference. Our work here involves showing people concrete options for taking action. That is exactly what actively living democracy means. It means being actively involved as an individual in shaping the world around me. And my actions have a consequence for others. That is why education on development policy issues promotes democracy, peace, and global social justice. Education on development policy issues contributes significantly towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 4.7, which is concerned with education for sustainable development. At the political level, our focus is on firmly establishing education for sustainable development in the structures of education planning by means of what we call the curriculum framework for high school students. In our federal education system, we need cohesion between the people working at all the different levels, whether in the central government or at the federal level. I would like to take this opportunity to expressly thank everyone for the very successful cooperation with the Standing Conference of the Ministers of Education and Cultural Affairs of the Länder in the Federal Republic of Germany. The curriculum framework is due to be officially adopted by the Conference of the Ministers of Education this autumn. I am therefore especially pleased that many of the people who were actively involved in this process are here with us today. Let me take this opportunity to already say a warm thank you for your committed work. In order for education on development policy issues to succeed at the national and the international level, you need the involvement of academia. Academic expertise is indispensable for developing evidence-based solutions for global challenges and fostering dialogue between nations. In the case of the curriculum framework, which I just mentioned, for example, there's very close cooperation with academics. We have seen in the field of education and development policy issues that closely interlinking academic theory and actual practice is crucial when it comes to achieving sustainable results. However, scientific results also need to be shared, discussed, and translated into political recommendations for action. In Germany, we support this evidence-based policy dialogue, thereby also implementing the Dublin Declaration adopted by Jean. Today's conference is a wonderful example of what this exchange can look like. On the subject of conferences, the third Global Disability Summit recently took place here in Berlin in early April. The Disability Summit set an important example for strengthening global efforts to achieve more inclusion. The BMZ is committed to fostering peaceful and inclusive societies, working to enable access to justice and the rule of law for all, and strengthening effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the Humboldt Forum, a vibrant location for exchange and discussion in the heart of Berlin. Thank you, Professor Dorgerloh, that we are able to hold this event here. Global cooperation and crisis management can only happen when the past is taken into account, when all the perspectives involved are taken into account. In this regard, it is most important that we address the historical and current challenges of colonial continuities and decolonization also here in this location. The injustices of the past continue to shape our global relations. In science and politics, we have a responsibility to reflect on this legacy and to discuss questions of justice and fairness in international cooperation. The Humboldt Forum especially is a place for exchange and debate, a place where we can learn with and from one another and understand the perspectives of all involved in order to lay the foundations for fairer cooperation. To conclude, I would also like to warmly thank our partners at Jean, the University of Bamberg, and Engagement Global. The conference would never have been possible without your untiring commitment. I wish us all an inspiring and productive conference. Thank you very much.
I would now like to invite Professor Hartmut Dorgerloh, who is the director of this very impressive Humboldt Forum, where we are now hosting and having this conference.
Dear Director Sascha Vogt, dear Annette, dear Wegimont, dear Elina Lehtomäki, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests from all over the world, researchers, policymakers, and practitioners of global education, it's a great pleasure and privilege for me to welcome you to this important conference here in the Humboldt Forum. And it's meaningful, especially meaningful, for us to host this conference at this very specific site. Located in the heart of Berlin, the Humboldt Forum is more than just a venue. It is a symbol of transformation, of critique and dialogue, of the ongoing effort to rethink how we engage with history, culture, and education in a global context. The Humboldt Forum did not begin as a neutral space. When we opened in 2021, the forum faced significant public debates. The partial reconstruction of the former royal palace and the relocation of artifacts collecting during colonial times raised difficult but necessary questions. The debates have turned this building into a place where history and power is not only displayed, but also actively questioned. It is precisely this openness to debate that makes the Humboldt Forum such a powerful site for global education. Global education, in our understanding, is not just about knowledge. It is about perspective. It is about learning to see the world through different eyes. and understanding how our histories, our cultures, and our futures are deeply interconnected. The Humboldt Forum aims to be a cultural hub that bridges local history with global narratives. It is a place where contested heritage is not hidden, but explored. Our exhibitions are designed to challenge static narratives, or I would like to say we are on the way to working on this. Developed with indigenous communities, diasporic and local voices, and international partners, especially our temporary exhibitions address themes such as colonial legacies, cultural diversity, and global interdependencies. And I hope you will have the opportunity during the next hours, perhaps today or tomorrow, to have a look upstairs and see what I was talking about. We invite visitors to engage with difficult histories and to reflect on their relevance today. And education is always at the heart of what we do. The Humboldt Forum Academy, and I'm very glad that two important representatives from the Academy among you, Katrin Kollmeier and Uta Kornmeier, and as far as I know, you will give also paper here, and so you can talk directly to the colleagues who are much more deeper in this field of global learning and understanding. The Humboldt Forum Academy, that's the name for our education department, and along with education teams from our partner institution, has embraced the principles of global learning from the very beginning. Our approach is inclusive and dialogic. Learning goals are not fixed or canonical. They are discursive and shaped by the needs and perspectives of diverse audiences. We support exploratory learning through hands-on experiences, workshops, collaborative projects with international and indigenous partners, such as our Mitwissenschaft City Research. If you want to learn more about this, Uta Kornmeier is the expert for that. We also offer interactive environments like the Makerspace and UFO, where learning becomes a shared creative process. We believe that education, when it is critical, participatory, and globally aware, can help us navigate complexity with empathy, awareness, and informed action. With all its contradictions, the Humboldt Forum offers a powerful case study for global education. It challenges us to ask, how do we teach history, including colonial history, in a way that is honest, inclusive, and future-oriented? How do we turn contested heritage into a space for learning and dialogue? And how can cultural institutions contribute to building a more just, sustainable, and democratic global society? We look forward to exploring these questions with you, the Angel Network, in the coming days. Thank you for coming, and I wish you a very successful and inspiring meeting here at the Humboldt Forum.
I would like to welcome you also on behalf of the Academic Network of Global Education and Learning, our international network of scholars, policymakers, also involved teachers, educationalists, professionals in the field of global education and learning. It is a real pleasure to have our conference here this year, and we have had our conferences organized since 2017, and now here we are in Humboldt finally. I think it's been a long-term plan. And it is interesting to meet here colleagues from around the world who are sharing this evidence that they have collected through their research to inform policymakers, as we heard today, from the German case that, yes, evidence-based, evidence-informed policymaking is very important in education development and in our international cooperation. And this is what we want to do. We want to bring the research. We want to bring the evidence here for all of us to share and to inform each other about what is going on in the field of research. We expect also that research helps us to navigate these complexities, as we heard today. Complexities are there, and we need engagement. We need also research. We need knowledge of what is important and what is possible to do. But also we bring critical perspectives, and I think this is one of the key issues in research. We bring also critical perspectives, new dimensions, new perspectives into the picture. So I hope you all will enjoy the conference, participate actively, and there are several sessions with exciting topics, new emerging research, and certainly policy relevance as well present in many of the sessions during the conference. You're most welcome on the behalf of the Academic Network of Global Education and Learning. And I now would like to invite my colleague, Professor Annette Scheunpflug from the University of Bamberg.
Yeah, dear colleagues and friends in global learning, dear Director Sascha Vogt, dear Hartmut, dear Elina, dear colleagues. So, how nice to be here and to have this conference together with you. I thank very much, and I'm very delighted to be here with you, the director of the BMZ, Sascha Vogt, because it is good that the BMZ is so strongly with us, because it plays and played and plays an important role in global education, and as well, and this is really outstanding, in global education research. Many thanks for the generous hospitality and partnership with the Humboldt Forum, and that the Humboldt Forum accepted this idea that we would have the Angel Conference here at this hub for the discussion of colonialism and decoloniality. I think this is a very right place for a discussion on educational research on this topic. And we are together in the next days to explore research on global education and learning for democracy, peace, human rights, sustainability, and global social justice. A special emphasis at this conference will be on the transfer on research to policymakers, especially those policymakers who are responsible and doing decisions in regard for global education in ministries and agencies, and which by this have a huge influence in what is done in global learning in schools, in youth work, in museums, in theaters, in adult education, in early childhood education, and other domains of education. The field of global learning has evolved in the last 50 years, step by step, having a broader audience, higher professionalism, and greater outreach. From the beginning, and that is one of the findings we had in our research, from the beginning, this small but important field of education was very intertwined between practice and research. Practitioners and policymakers had asking for better concepts, for more knowledge and more evidence, and researchers pushing the field by making it more public. And today we can see that research on global education is more needed than ever. Research on global education is needed as the field has substantially grown in the last 10 years. Global education and learning has more and more professionalized. Curricula in schools and in universities had been revised for more and better global learning, and one of these examples will be presented during the conference. You mentioned this. Museums are more and more offering educational programs in this field, and you have heard from Hartmut Dorgerloh, and you will see and explore what I hope the work of the Humboldt Forum in this regard. Youth organizations are working internationally together and providing mutual exchange, as well as more and more schools are having partner schools in the Global South. Voluntary programs in the Global South and from the Global South to the Global North are getting more and more popular. Teacher training programs are aware that a reflection on global sustainable development might be important for future teachers. So we have a very growing field, and a growing field calls for more research and for more support in this field and evidence. The second reason for research on global education is that we have learned during the last 50, 40 years that just having a goodwill in this field and just doing something is not enough. We are navigating complexity. We have different narratives. Change of perspective is so important. We have learned that by research that global learning needs to be organized in a way that instead of teaching paternalism and white savior behavior, it is more and more coming to the complexity of the world. We have learned to teach global issues without fear and without anxiety on the developments of the future, because we want to empower for future actions. And all this needs, the complexity of the field needs more adapted research in order to be able to reflect the different contexts in which people are working and the different areas of education. Global education research, and that's the third aspect, for democracy, peace, human rights, sustainability, and global social justice is needed as the field and the policymakers need evidence. They need evidence against people who are criticizing, and especially those who want to support global learning need to have this evidence. We are living and working in turbulent times. We have war in new dimensions than before. The climate crisis is increasing. We live in times in which human rights are challenged and all kinds of minorities comes under threat. Global education research shows the evidence that activities lead to learning on global understanding and global social justice. And to get even more solid evidence, this needs research seeking for evidence by having in mind the complexity of the learning processes in which not every input leads to results, however, is influenced by the social context, the previous experience of the learners, and all the complexity of learning processes as well. And this needs a high cooperation between researchers, and it needs research designs which are state-of-the-art. It needs more meta-studies and more joint research, especially together with colleagues from the Global South. So we have enough reasons to focus on global education research at this conference. After 2 conferences in London and in Great Britain, one in Oulu in Finland, one in Paris in France, now here in Berlin at the Humboldt Forum. The Humboldt Forum is a place of entangled and complex histories of power, coloniality in Prussia, in Germany, in Europe, and in the world. It's a place which takes the name of Alexander von Humboldt, one of the first empirical researchers on geography and a pioneer on ecological thinking, as he resumed his knowledge on the world by saying everything is systemic interaction, so the first understanding of systemic ecology. And he is seen as one of the fathers of education for sustainable development and system thinking. You will have several occasions to visit the Humboldt Forum, and you find more information about the Humboldt Forum and its reflection on coloniality by the QR code and the little booklet we have sent you before the conference. We want to be together in this conference by putting into practice the principles in global learning on mutual respect, change of perspective, and sensitive language. This is our shared professional basis. However, if you are engaged, sometimes discussions might not be fair. And it might not be easy to look back to all kinds of colonialism and power. Sometimes this is hurting as well. In case you need support, please address yourself to our awareness team. You find the awareness team in the plenary, and as a meeting point, we have installed for exchange about colonial legacies and its impact on education. So can the awareness team just stand up? Yes, look, yes. And you might take the QR code, and you might take, because we will not always be in this plenary room, you might please take the phone number by your mobile phone, like this, but you find it as well on the website. So we are very happy that the awareness team is with us. The program of this conference is very promising. We had more than 200 abstracts sent in and an intensive review process. The program has important keynote speakers. We are very delighted and honored by two speakers from academia, Veronika Boisman-Siller from Harvard and Ingrid Gogolin, the former president of the European Educational Research Association and the founding director of the World Educational Research Association from the University of Hamburg. And the third keynote speaker is coming from, and this is our twin situation with research and policy. The third keynote speaker is coming from the side of the policymakers. We feel very honored that the former Minister for Foreign Affairs of New Zealand, Nainaya Mahuta, will give her keynote on indigenous perspectives towards citizenship. And we will have a final panel with high-level speakers. We had yesterday already 4 sessions with very, very interesting and encouraging presentations from early career researchers, and we will have a lot of more presentations and sessions today and tomorrow. And we will explore, of course, what I said already, the Humboldt Forum and their experiences in global learning. And we will have to celebrate the success of the Angel Network, which has no more than 900 members. The next years to come, it will be important to stabilize this network, and this will be discussed during this conference as well. So a very interesting and rich program. I wish us all 2 very interesting and fruitful days. May you feel inspired by research, by the examples of the Humboldt Forum on Global Education and by our keynotes. And may you feel empowered and supported by knowing that others are working as well on these important topics, even if you might feel lonely sometimes in your respective countries or in your respective universities. And I would be very happy if one of the results of this conference would be new cooperations on global learning research around the globe. So let us enjoy the next 2 days.
And now I would like to welcome Liam Wegimont, Director of the Global Education Network Europe.
Thank you, Professor Lehtomäki. Thank you, Elina. Thank you, Annette. Thank you to the director of BMZ, Mr. Sascha Vogt. We're really delighted that you could join us in one of your first official engagements in your new position. We see this as symbolic, and it's really very apt that you are here today, given the inspirational leadership role that BMZ and Germany have played in the history of policy research in global education in Europe. And I'd like to add my and Jean's thanks to that of Professor Scheunpflug and Mr. Vogt, and to thank Professor Dorgerloh, with apologies for my bad German pronunciation. I know 3 words in German, Erziehung, Bildung, and Lernen, but we'll come back to that. So thank you very much to you and your colleagues in the Humboldt Forum. We'd like to express our gratitude for your hospitality and for the kind and generous hosting. and also to express gratitude to colleagues from Angel, from Engagement Global, from BMZ, from Bamberg, and also to my wonderful colleagues in the Gene Secretariat for gathering us all today. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, old and new, I'm really delighted to be here on behalf of Gene and to welcome colleagues from partner organizations and participants to this Angel Conference. A particular welcome to Gene policymakers from ministries and agencies across Europe and from the European Commission. And a particular thanks to the European Commission INTPA DEA OR programme, welcome Marie Angelis, and to colleagues from national ministries and agencies for the support to Gene and to Angel that makes this gathering possible. Now, thank you all for being here. Really delighted to see lots of people that I know, and even happier to see lots of people that I don't know. And I'd like to welcome you all, and to start by trying to figure out who we are. Now, this isn't an existential or ontological question that I'm posing just now. I am going to ask you, I suspect that there are a few people who consider themselves to be researchers in the room. Would that be correct? Excellent. Could everyone who considers themselves to be a researcher give us a wave? Marvelous. Wonderful. Thank you. I suspect that there might be a few activists in the room. Could anyone here who considers themselves to be an activist please give us a wave? Excellent. Thank you. These categories may not be mutually exclusive. Any CSOs, NGOs in the room? You're very welcome. Other stakeholders that I haven't mentioned, please give us a wave. Excellent. What about policymakers? Are there policymakers here? People who consider themselves policymakers? If so, give us a wave. Okay, now you see the ones who have their hands up now? Yes, go on, admit it. I can see there are people over in the corner who are pretending not to be policymakers. But please do find the policymakers and ask them what research questions they have for you. Tell me, could those who consider ourselves teachers give us a wave? And could those who consider ourselves learners give us a wave? Okay, I knew I'd get people there. Could anyone that I've failed to mention give us a wave? Is there anyone who hasn't waved yet? If so, you're also welcome. Listen, finally, on this waving stuff, I know I'm not allowed to mention soccer today, but that's just a comment for German colleagues who like soccer. My wife is Portuguese. Finally, could those of us who have been at an Angel conference before give us a wave? Great. Now, to those who have never been at an Angel conference before, could you give us a wave? And could you, if it's okay with you, please stand up? If you can't stand, that's all right too. Okay. Could the rest of us please give those who are new to Angel and Angel conferences a thorough round of applause and a welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you, and you can sit now. But this, I think, is a measure of how much we are growing as Angel and also of our future. I want to turn to the themes of the conference for a moment. And these are broad and crucial. Research in global education for democracy, peace, human rights, sustainability, and global social justice. Along with these themes, which obviously we chose the easy stuff, but these are, I jest, we're reflecting on these themes through the lens of research and also reflecting on the research and policy implications of the Dublin Declaration on Global Education to 2050 and other international and regional documents that strengthen our hand in global education. And we're looking at these as a red thread throughout the proceedings. The issues that we deal with are huge and hugely important for the world. And we are looking at them through, as Annette pointed out, the complex lens of the relationship between policymakers and policymaking and research. Jean started almost 25 years ago with a vision now captured in the Dublin Declaration of a world where all people in Europe, in solidarity with peoples globally, will have access to quality global education. This universalist rights-based vision of global education in Europe, informed by dialogue with global partners, is not something simple, but it has led to many national strategies in European countries that now echo that policy approach to include all people across all sectors of society and education in dialogue with our colleagues from around the world. But the fact is that we can't reach all people instantly. It's step by step. We cannot improve reach without improving quality, and we cannot improve policy without adequate research, as Mr. Vogt clearly stated. This focus on the importance of supporting the further development of research in global education and to enable research-informed policy is also one of the commitments of the Dublin Declaration. And we are grateful to colleagues in BMZ, in Engagement Global, and in other national ministries from Austria to Estonia, from Luxembourg to Malta, from Poland to Greece, from Cyprus to Ireland and others, who are continuing to keep this focus to the fore. Policymakers need research if they are to really create policy in the public good. Of course, policy can be made without recourse to facts, to evidence, to research, to knowledge. And we can see very clearly that George Orwell and Hannah Arendt were right when we look to the USA. Policy that's not based on truth, on facts, on evidence, on research, well, that's one of the surest ways to undermine democracy and head in the direction of fascism. But if policymakers need research, and Jean, we also believe that researchers need policymakers to inform research agendas, to ensure that at least a part of the emerging research in this burgeoning field of global education and learning has a policy focus and is at least partly policy related and policy priority informed. We need to forge alliances that are steeped in the power of policy research, of policy that's informed by research, and research that pays attention to policy. In Jean, we know that this relationship is neither linear nor simple, and pretending either will not serve us well. So in Jean, we were delighted to be involved in the co-founding and continue to be involved in Angel, not for the good of our health. It's not only because the good people in Angel are really sound, intelligent, committed, brilliant, and kind people who share our global education values. That would be enough in itself. They share our global education values while valuing freedom. But it's also because we see that policy makers and research in the field of global education need to build research agendas together. Speaking personally, as I look around the world that Annette described, a world of polycrises, a world in turmoil, where there is genocide through intentional famine, a war of aggression in Europe, responses that prioritize an arms race over peace building, ecocide and biocide, weaponization of difference, the bullying and demonization of tiny minorities like our trans sisters and brothers and our migrant brothers and sisters, the mining of people's minds and hearts for private gain, and the undermining of democratic engagement in processes, the defense and justification of indefensible war crimes. I could go on. It's not a pretty picture geopolitically. We could be forgiven for heading in the direction of despair. But we can't, because we're educators. And whether as policymakers, determined to maintain the values of global education in the face of a tidal wave trying to reverse our gains and denigrate the values we stand for, or as researchers dealing with the challenging and at times insurmountable academic and third-level contexts, we have to remember that we are educators. And so, as Paulo Freire put it, it's our job to forge hope in the face of despair and if we've lost hope, to get out of education. We're not calling for optimism. We're not looking for naive or empty hope. It's not a call for hope, but it's the active creation of hope as an antidote to despair and chaos that, frankly, fascism would prefer. So where do we find hope? Quite simply, hope is available here. In many places in education, in many places in development cooperation policy, and also in the nexus between policy and research. The North American feminist educator Bell Hooks once wrote about how she found in theory a place of healing. I'd like to suggest that in the nexus between and the coalition of and the dialogue of policy and research, we might also find a place of healing and a place of hope. And so, this conference starts with hope. And what a treat we have in store for you and for us all in the coming days with inspiring keynotes, challenging panel sessions, cutting-edge research, and themes that respond to the concerns of policymakers and the expertise of researchers. We're looking forward to forging hope together. Thank you.